All right, mathematicians, let's get familiar with inductive and deductive reasoning, section 2.2. Our essential question, how can you use reasoning to solve problems? So our objectives are that mathematicians will be able to use inductive and deductive reasoning. All right, first let's get familiar with some vocabulary. When we use inductive reasoning, it's when a pattern is found by observation and a conjecture is written. So we have our little owl here with his big eyes observing. Now a conjecture is an unproven statement based on observation. And then a counterexample is an example that proves a conjecture is false. All right, example 1, we can use inductive reasoning skills to describe how to sketch the fourth figure in the pattern. Then sketch the fourth figure. So first come up with a conjecture after observing, in other words, using inductive reasoning, the pattern that you see from figure 1 to figure 3. So go ahead and think through the pattern and then see if we can come up with a conjecture. All right, so it looks like each circle is divided into halves, creating congruent pieces. All right, so based on this conjecture, in other words, observation, the fourth figure will be divided into eighths. The shaded region will be above the horizontal line on the left, as you can see here in the figure. All right, we can use inductive reasoning to consider the following situation. Numbers such that 3, 4, and 5 are called consecutive integers. Consecutive means to be one after the other. Integers means positive and negative numbers. So we want to make and test a conjecture about the sum of any 3 consecutive integers. So step 1, let's find a pattern using few groups of small numbers. All right, let's consider the values 3, 4, and 5. Notice that they are consecutive, so they're one after the other. So 3, then a 4, then a 5. So if I add all of these values together, my sum will equal 12. And 4 times 3 is also equal to 12. Let's consider a different grouping. How about the values 7, 8, and 9? So if we add 7, 8, and 9, we get a sum of 24, which is equal to 8 times 3. All right, so our next step will be, let's make a conjecture based on just these two groupings. And I think our conjecture can be that the sum of any 3 consecutive integers is 3 times the second number. So if I add up the 3, 4, and 5, that equals 12, which is the same as 3 times my second value, which was a 4. Let's see if that's true here. I have 7 plus 8 plus 9, which is 24, which is equal to 3 times the second number, which is an 8. Okay, so far in these two groupings, that conjecture seems to hold. So then our final step is to test the conjecture using other numbers. For example, test that it works with the groups -1, 0, and 1, 100, 101, and 102. All right, so -1 plus 0 plus 1 is 0, and then that's equal to 0 times 3. That checks. Let's take a look at 100 plus 102, 100 plus 101 plus 102, which is 303. And is that equal to 101, the second value, times 3? Yes, that checks as well. So it looks like our conjecture works. All right, so again, let's look at some patterns using inductive reasoning. Describe the pattern in the numbers below and write the next 3 numbers in the pattern. So pause the video here and try these 3 examples on your own. So take a look at the sequence and see if you can describe the pattern in your own words for each of these sets of sequences. All right, for this first sequence, each number is 2 less than the previous. And you could have described this in a different way, but something to the effect that each number is 2 less than the previous number. Our next pattern seems to be each number is the sum of the 2 previous values, and that's actually known as a special sequence, the Fibonacci sequence. And our last pattern is every other letter adds 6 to each number. All right, now let's talk about counterexamples and finding them. So a student makes the following conjecture about the sum of 2 numbers. Find a counterexample to disprove the student's conjecture. Remember, a counterexample is just an example that proves the statement false. So the conjecture that we're trying to prove false is that the sum of 2 numbers is always more than the greater number. So what could be a counterexample? Well, we need to find a sum that is going to be less than the greater number. So if we can find that situation, just one situation, then it proves the entire statement false. All we need is one counterexample to prove a statement or conjecture false. So consider when 2 negative numbers are added, then the number is smaller. So let's take a look at this specific example. -2 plus -3 equals -5. So we can conclude here that -2 is greater than -5. So this one counterexample exists, therefore the conjecture is false. All right, now let's get familiar with deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning uses facts, definitions, accepted properties, and laws of logic to form a logical argument. So think of a judge's gavel here. When he slams it down, law is happening. It's final word. So deductive reasoning uses facts, definitions, accepted properties, and laws of logic. And then we have what's called a law of detachment. This happens if the hypothesis of a conditional statement is true, then the conclusion is also true. Let's consider the following example. Use the law of detachment to make a valid conclusion in the true situation. Here's our situation. If 2 segments have the same length, then they are congruent. You know that BC equals XY, so the length from B to C equals the length from X to Y satisfies the hypothesis of a true conditional statement. So the conclusion is also true. So that means we can conclude that segment BC is congruent to segment XY. Looking at our next example, Mary goes to the movies every Friday and Saturday night. Today is Friday. What conclusion can you make? Well, we can conclude that Mary will go to the movies. Now, is this an example of deductive or inductive reasoning? Just a quick refresher. Inductive reasoning is based on observation of patterns. Deductive is based on law, properties, definitions, etc. So, are we making an observation, or is this a rule or a law that helps us decide that Mary will go to the movies? This is an example of inductive reasoning. We're using a pattern of behavior to decide that Mary will go to the movies. All right, next we have law of syllogism, which is if a hypothesis P, then conclusion Q is true, then a second statement where the conclusion is now the hypothesis, then new conclusion R is true. Then we can take the hypothesis of the first statement to conclude the conclusion of the second statement is true. All right, let's consider the following examples. If possible, use the law of syllogism to write a new conditional statement that follows from the pair of true statements. So let's say, if Rick takes chemistry this year, that's our hypothesis, then Jessie will be Rick's lab partner. All right, so let's identify our hypothesis and conclusion. So the hypothesis of the first statement, Rick takes chemistry this year. Conclusion, Jessie will be Rick's lab partner. Second statement says, if Jesse is Rick's lab partner, then, new conclusion, Rick will get an A in chemistry. So what conclusion can we make? We would take the hypothesis of the first statement and the conclusion of the second statement to then conclude that if Rick takes chemistry, then he will get an A. All right, next let's look at statements A. So it looks like I mixed up these on my PowerPoint, so I apologize. So just switch these. Think of them switched. In your notes it's correct, but on my video we need to switch these. So I'm going to read the second statement as if it is the first statement. All right, so if x is greater than 5 is our hypothesis of the first statement, then x squared is greater than 25 is the conclusion of the first statement. Then my second statement is if x squared is greater than 25, then x squared is greater than 20. So using the law of syllogism, I can say if x is greater than 5, then x squared is greater than 20. So I'm using the first part of the first statement and the last part of the second statement. All right, pause the video here and you try part B on your own. All right, hopefully you realize that neither conclusion is the same as the other's conclusion, so actually a statement cannot be written using the law of syllogism. All right, that's all for inductive versus deductive reasoning. We'll learn more in class, bring clarifying questions, and be ready to practice. See you then.